The cream-colored envelope sat on my kitchen counter like a pumpino waiting to explode. An invitation to the charity gala where my ex-husband Derek would be showing off his new trophy wife. Vanessa, 29 years old, blonde, perfect, living in my house, sleeping in my bed, raising my children. Everyone told me not to go. Stay home, Grace. Do not embarrass yourself. Let him win. Move on with your pathetic life. But then I opened the box my ex-husband's business partner left on my doorstep with a simple note. You deserve to know the truth. Inside, 4 years of evidence, emails between Derek and his assistant that made my stomach turn. Financial records showing he had been hiding millions of dollars from me. Security camera footage from his office that I can never unsee. My husband had not just cheated on me, he had systematically destroyed me while I slept beside him every single night. While I was burying my father, Derek was in Mexico with her. While I was raising our children, Derek was stealing our money. While I was defending him to friends, everyone already knew the truth. Everyone except me. The divorce left me with $50,000 for 23 years of marriage. Derek kept everything. The house worth over $1 million, the vacation home, his business, everything. I ended up in a tiny apartment working retail at 42 years old while Derek played the victim. Poor Derek, stuck with his crazy ex-wife who just will not move on. But here is what Derek did not know. I had evidence now, real evidence, and I was done being silent. So I decided to go to that gala after all. Me in my red dress and my box full of truth. And then something happened I never expected. His trophy wife called me, Vanessa, the other woman. And what she told me changed absolutely everything. This is the story of how I went from broken to standing on a stage in front of 500 people. The story of how the trophy wife became my ally instead of my enemy. The story of how I finally fought back against a man who thought he was untouchable. This is the story of how I stopped being a victim and became a warrior. My name is Grace Holloway, and this is what happened when I decided to tell the truth. You are going to want to hear every single word of this. Trust me. The cream-colored envelope sat on Grace Holloway's kitchen counter like a grenade with the pin already pulled. Just sitting there, waiting to explode her carefully controlled world into 1,000 jagged pieces. Grace stood at the counter staring at it. She had been standing there for 20 minutes now, maybe longer. Time felt strange these days. Slippery. The annual Children's Hospital Charity Gala. Black tie optional. Saturday evening at 7 o'clock at the Grand Ballroom downtown. She knew that ballroom intimately. Every crystal chandelier, every gold-trimmed column, every square foot of marble floor. Grace had helped organize this exact event for 12 consecutive years. 12 years of planning elaborate seating charts and negotiating contracts with expensive caterers and sweet-talking wealthy donors into opening their designer checkbooks. She had sat on the planning committee every single year, had her name printed in the program under special thanks. This year, her name was nowhere on the committee list. This year, she was not special anymore. Her phone buzzed against the chipped laminate countertop. The sound made her jump. Beth Carmichael calling, her best friend since their freshman year of college, the only person who still called these days. Everyone else had picked sides when the divorce became final. Most people picked Derek's side. Money had a way of attracting loyalty. Tell me you are not actually going, Beth said without any greeting. No hello, no how are you, just straight to the point. That was Beth. I have not decided yet. Grace. Beth's voice carried that particular tone, the one that meant she was about to say something Grace did not want to hear. He will be there, with her. Her, that single word hung in the air between them like smoke from a fire. Vanessa Pierce, 29 years old with blonde hair that probably cost more to maintain each month than Grace's entire rent payment. Perfect, polished, professionally beautiful in that way that came from expensive salons and personal trainers and probably a little cosmetic work around the eyes. Derek's new wife, his trophy. Grace's fingers trembled as she reached for her coffee mug. The liquid inside had gone completely cold. She had made it 2 hours ago, or maybe 3 hours ago. Then she had just stood here at the counter staring at the invitation while her coffee went cold and her life continued falling apart in slow motion. The apartment was too quiet. She missed the noise, the chaos, the beautiful mess of family life. Connor's lacrosse gear piled by the front door because he never remembered to put it away properly. Lily's music echoing down from upstairs. Too loud, always too loud, but Grace had never really minded. Derek's morning news program playing on the television in the den while he got ready for work. Stop it. Do not go there. That life is gone. I donated $10,000 to that charity last year, Grace said into the phone. Her voice sounded strange to her own ears. Flat. I have every right to attend this event. You are broke, Grace. Beth did not believe in sugarcoating the truth. Never had. You are living in a two-bedroom apartment in the sketchy part of town and working retail at Target at 42 years old because that bastard hid assets during the divorce and got the three best attorneys money could buy while you could barely afford one. True, every word of it was completely true. Grace looked around her small apartment. Second-hand furniture from the thrift store on Madison Street. The couch with the broken spring and the left cushion that jabbed into her hip when she sat down. Walls that desperately needed painting, but she could not afford the supplies from Home Depot. Windows that overlooked a cracked parking lot instead of the professionally landscaped garden she had cultivated for 15 years in the backyard of their house. Her house, the one that was not hers anymore. That garden had been her pride and joy. Roses in 6 different colors, heirloom tomatoes, fresh herbs she used for cooking. She had spent hundreds of hours on her knees in that dirt, creating something beautiful, something of love. Now that garden belonged to Vanessa. Everything beautiful in Grace's old life now belonged to Vanessa. Maybe that is exactly why I should go, Grace said quietly. Maybe I need to show up and prove I am not hiding. Not ashamed, not broken. The invitation felt heavy in her hands. Heavier than paper, she would feel. Mr. and Mrs. Derek Holloway request the pleasure of your company. Mrs. Derek Holloway, that title used to belong to Grace. For 23 years, that had been her identity, her name, her place in the world. Now it belonged to a 29-year-old woman who used to be Derek's executive assistant. Beth sighed heavily through the phone. Grace could picture her friend sitting in her office at the coffee shop she owned, probably shaking her head. If you are actually really serious about going to this thing, then I am going with you. You are not walking into that lion's den alone. You hate these fancy charity events. You always say they make you want to vomit. I hate what Derek did to you significantly more than I hate overpriced rubber chicken dinners. Grace ended the call. She walked slowly to her bedroom closet. Her feet dragged across the worn carpet. The black dress still hung there in the very back, hidden behind her work uniform from Target. The red polo shirt and khaki pants she wore 5 days a week while scanning groceries and listening to customers complain about prices and expired coupons. The dress was beautiful, elegant. She had planned to wear it to last year's gala before absolutely everything imploded. Before she discovered Derek's affair with his 25-year-old assistant, before the divorce that destroyed her financially but somehow left Derek richer than he had been during the marriage, before her entire life collapsed like a house built on sand instead of solid ground. Her phone buzzed again. This time it was Connor, her son. 19 years old and stuck directly in the middle of his parents' war whether he wanted to be there or not. Mom, are you okay? Dad just called me like 10 minutes ago. He said you might show up at the gala tomorrow night and try to make some kind of scene. Grace's chest tightened, that familiar feeling. Like someone was sitting on her rib cage, squeezing all the air from her lungs. I have not made a final decision about whether I am going. He is really worried you will embarrass yourself in front of everyone important in the city. Those were his exact words, not mine. I am just telling you what he said. What do you think, Connor? Do you think I should go? Long silence stretched across the phone line. Grace could hear her son breathing, thinking carefully about his answer, trying not to hurt either parent, trying to be fair. Being 19 years old and caught between two people he loved who were destroying each other. Then Connor spoke very carefully. I think Dad is the one who should be embarrassed about what happened. But Mom, please be really careful. You know exactly how Dad operates when someone challenges him. Yes, Grace knew precisely how Derek Holloway operated. 23 years of marriage had taught her everything about the man she had once loved more than her own life. The man who had systematically dismantled everything she valued while she slept beside him every single night. The man who had looked into her eyes every morning and lied without any visible effort. Grace hung up the phone. She pulled the black dress from the closet and held it against her body. Studied herself in the full-length mirror that leaned against the wall because she could not afford to mount it properly. She had lost weight since buying this dress. Too much weight. The divorce diet, Beth called it with dark humor. A toxic combination of anxiety and poverty and heartbreak that melted pounds off your body, whether you wanted them gone or not. The envelope still mocked her from the kitchen counter. She could see it from the bedroom doorway. Grace did what she always did when anxiety crept up her spine like cold fingers. She picked up her phone, pressed the power button. Lock screen appeared. Pressed it again. Unlock. Lock screen. Unlock. Lock screen. 3 times exactly. The ritual gave her something to control when absolutely everything else was spinning completely out of reach. When her life felt like a car careening down a mountain road with no brakes and no way to stop the inevitable crash. Then she remembered something important. The box. The cardboard box that Derek's business partner, James Whitmore, had dropped off at her apartment exactly 1 week ago. He had shown up unannounced at 7 in the evening with an apologetic expression on his weathered face and a cryptic message that had haunted her dreams every single night since. "You deserve to know the truth about what really happened," James had said. Then he left without any explanation, just left the sealed box and drove away. The box sat on the top shelf of her bedroom closet, sealed tight with brown packing tape. Grace had been too afraid to open it, too afraid of what truths might be hiding inside, what evidence James thought she needed to see. But now, standing here staring at the gala invitation, she felt something shift deep in her chest. Some fundamental change in her understanding of the situation. Maybe it was finally time to stop being so afraid of the truth. Maybe it was time to actually fight it back instead of just surviving. Grace had not opened the box yet. It sat on the top shelf of her closet like Pandora's box from those old Greek myths her mother used to read to her when she was a little girl. Some boxes were meant to stay closed forever. Some truths were better left buried in darkness where they could not hurt anyone. But tonight felt different somehow. Tonight Grace felt ready. She pulled the box down carefully. It was heavier than she expected. She set it on her bed. The packing tape resisted when she tried to peel it back. She had to use scissors. The tape gave way with a harsh ripping sound that seemed far too loud in the quiet apartment. Too violent. Too final. Inside the box were documents. Stacks and stacks of documents. Photographs. 3 USB drives with labels written in James's precise block handwriting. Timeline. Financial records. Email correspondence. And one more labeled simply the beginning. Grace's hand shook badly as she opened her laptop. The screen glowed blue in the darkening bedroom. She had forgotten to turn on any lights. The sun was setting outside her window. Shadows filled the corners of the room. She plugged in the first USB drive with trembling fingers. The one labeled email correspondence. Hundreds of files appeared on her screen. Maybe thousands. She recognized Derek's corporate email account immediately, the address he used for business. The earliest message in the folder was dated 4 years ago, July 15th. Grace remembered that date with crystal clarity. It was Connor's 15th birthday. They had thrown him a big pool party at the house, invited 30 kids from his school. Derek had grilled hamburgers and hot dogs. Grace had made a cake from scratch, chocolate with vanilla frosting. Connor's favorite. She clicked the file open with her heart pounding. "Derek, last night was absolutely amazing. I cannot stop thinking about you, about what we did. When can we possibly meet again? I need to see you, V." Grace felt bile rise hot in her throat. 4 years ago, Vanessa had been Derek's executive assistant for only 3 months at that point. Grace remembered meeting her for the first time at the company summer picnic. Young, eager, professional in her gray suit and sensible heels. Grace had actually felt sorry for the girl back then. Derek could be such a demanding boss, so particular about everything, so critical when things were not done exactly his way. Grace had even invited Vanessa to their home for Connor's high school graduation party 2 years ago. had served her wine and cheese in the living room, had made small talk about Vanessa's family and her plans for the future, had treated her like a welcome guest in their home. The emails continued. Grace scrolled through them with growing horror. Hundreds of messages, thousands of them actually. Derek and Vanessa's relationship documented in explicit detail that made Grace's stomach turn. Hotels across the city, the Riverside Inn, the Grand Hotel downtown, the boutique place over on Maple Street, conferences in other states where they could be more open. That weekend, Grace had been in Ohio for her mother's funeral. Derek and Vanessa had been together at a resort in Cabo San Lucas, her mother's funeral. Grace had buried her mother while Derek was on a beach in Mexico with his mistress. Grace spoke out loud to the empty room. Her voice sounded strange, too loud. I am not crazy. I had every right to trust my husband. He was the liar, not me. He was always the liar. The words felt good somehow, like reclaiming something that had been stolen, like taking back her own reality from Derek's carefully constructed narrative. But there was so much more in James's box. Financial documents showing that Derek had been systematically moving money for at least 3 years, maybe longer. Setting up accounts Grace did not know existed. Accounts with her name carefully left off all the paperwork. Transferring marital assets to his mother Patricia's name, to shell companies with addresses in Delaware and the Cayman Islands, places where money could hide from divorce proceedings, to Vanessa herself. Derek had been giving their money to his mistress while telling Grace they needed to cut back on household expenses. He had been planning this divorce for years before Grace even knew their marriage was in any kind of trouble, before she suspected anything was wrong at all. Grace remembered the marriage counseling sessions Derek had suggested 18 months ago. She had been so hopeful, so grateful that he wanted to work on their relationship. His concerned face across from the therapist, as he explained with such apparent sincerity that Grace seemed unstable lately. Paranoid about nothing, jealous without any real cause or evidence. The therapist who had nodded sympathetically at Derek and then prescribed Grace medication for severe anxiety disorder. The whole time Derek sat there in that therapist's office looking so worried about his wife's deteriorating mental health, he had been actively sleeping with Vanessa, meeting her at hotels, taking her on trips, giving her money from their joint accounts. The whole time he had been telling Grace and everyone else that she was imagining problems in their marriage, he had been systematically hiding money from her. The whole time he had been building his exit strategy, Grace had been defending him to friends who tried to warn her that something seemed off. She had called them judgmental, told them they did not understand Derek's work stress, his pressure, his responsibilities. The realization hit Grace like a physical blow directly to her chest, hard enough to knock the wind from her lungs. She had been played, manipulated, gaslit for years. The man she had loved and trusted and built an entire life with had been methodically destroying that life while she slept beside him every night. Grace's phone rang. The sound made her jump. Lily calling this time, her daughter. Mom, please do not go to the gala tomorrow night. Please, Dad is absolutely freaking out about it. He says if you show up at that event, he will have security physically remove you. Did he actually say those words to you? He said you are not thinking clearly right now, that the divorce was really hard on your mental health and you need significantly more time to adjust to your new reality. Adjust. As if discovering your husband's 4-year affair and financial abuse was something you simply adjusted to, like moving to a new city or getting a different haircut or learning to drive a stick shift. Just a small life change that required a brief adjustment period. Lily, I need to ask you something very important. Did you ever see your father with Vanessa? Before the divorce, I mean. Did you ever see them together in any way that seemed inappropriate or wrong? Silence stretched across the phone line. Too long, heavy with things unsaid. Lily, are you still there? Mom, I really do not want to be stuck in the middle of this situation. That is not an answer, sweetheart. Her daughter's voice cracked. Grace could hear tears. I saw them together once at Dad's office Christmas party 2 years ago. I came back early from getting punch at the refreshment table, and they were standing in the hallway right outside Dad's private office. They did not see me there. They were just standing really close to each other. Way too close. Her hand was on his arm. He was looking at her in this way that seemed wrong. I told myself I was imagining things, that I was being paranoid like you always seem to be about Dad. Grace closed her eyes. Even her children had sensed something wrong in the house. Even they had picked up on the wrongness in the air. I pretended not to notice things, Grace said quietly, more to herself than to Lily. I made excuses for him. Every single time, I convinced myself I was the problem. Too suspicious, too jealous, too much, always too much for him. Mom, are you still there? Are you okay? I am here, baby. Thank you so much for telling me the truth. I know that was not easy. After hanging up with Lily, Grace opened another file folder from James's box. Photographs spilled out across her bed like playing cards. Derek and Vanessa at restaurants around the city. Antonio's on Fifth Street, the steakhouse downtown. That little French place Grace had always wanted to try, but Derek said was too expensive. Holding hands in parking garages when they thought no one could see them. Kissing in Derek's car outside what must be Vanessa's apartment building. Someone had been documenting their affair for years, following them, taking pictures. James Whitmore, probably. Derek's business partner and supposed best friend since college. Why had James stayed completely silent for so long? If he had all this evidence, why wait until now to give it to Grace? The last item in the box was a handwritten letter. 3 pages on expensive cream-colored stationery. James's neat cursive that reminded Grace of her grandfather's generation. Dear Grace, I am so incredibly sorry. I should have told you years ago what was actually happening. What Derek was doing behind your back. I should have been brave enough to tell you the truth regardless of the personal cost to myself. Derek threatened to destroy my career if I said anything to you about the affair or the money. He has evidence of a business mistake I made 5 years ago. A mistake that could be interpreted as fraud if presented the right way by the right lawyers in the right courtroom. I was trapped. I was a complete coward. But I cannot stay silent anymore. I cannot watch him destroy you and just stand by doing nothing. What Derek did to you in the divorce proceedings was criminal, completely criminal. He manipulated absolutely everything. The judge who somehow ruled in his favor on every single motion, the attorneys who convinced you that you could not afford to fight, the financial disclosures that were incomplete at best and fraudulent at worst. You deserve justice. You deserve truth. You deserve so much better than what happened to you. These documents prove the affair started years before Derek filed for divorce. They prove he systematically hid marital assets. They prove he planned everything while lying to you and lying to the court system. Use them however you need to. I will support you in any way possible. I will testify if necessary. I will do whatever it takes to help you get justice. You were always kind to me, Grace. You were always a good person. Derek does not deserve your silence. He does not deserve your cooperation. He does not deserve to get away with what he did to you. With deepest regret and sincere apologies, James Whitmore. Grace sat in the growing darkness of her bedroom. The box of evidence surrounded her on the bed like puzzle pieces she had been too afraid to assemble, too afraid of what picture that they would create. The invitation to the charity gala sat on her nightstand, white paper glowing in the shadows like something radioactive. Derek and Vanessa would be there tomorrow night. The perfect couple, the successful real estate developer who had built a fortune, and his beautiful young trophy wife. They would walk into that ballroom holding hands. Derek would introduce Vanessa to everyone important in the city, show her off like an expensive possession. Look at what I have. Look at what I won. Look at what I traded up to. Everyone would see them together. Everyone would whisper behind their hands about poor Grace Holloway, the bitter ex-wife who could not move on with her life, the woman who had let herself go, lost weight and style and dignity, the sad middle-aged divorcee working retail at Target and living in a cheap apartment in the bad part of town, the cautionary tale that women told each other at book clubs and yoga classes. That could be you if you are not careful, if you do not keep your husband satisfied, if you do not stay young and thin and interesting enough. Unless Grace showed them all exactly what Derek and Vanessa really were. Unless she stopped hiding and started fighting back. Unless she took control of the narrative for once in her life. Grace opened the final USB drive from James's box. The one labeled simply Timeline. Video files filled her laptop screen. Security footage from Derek's office building downtown. The expensive high-rise where his company occupied 3 entire floors. The timestamps on the files went back 4 full years, hundreds of hours of footage, maybe thousands of hours. She clicked the first file with shaking fingers, held her breath without meaning to. Derek's private office appeared on screen. The massive oak desk that cost more than most people's cars. The leather couch against the wall that Grace had helped him pick out. The door to his private bathroom. The window overlooking the city. The camera angle showed everything. Derek must not have known the security cameras captured inside his office. Must have thought his private space was actually private. The timestamp read 3 years ago, October 12th, 10 o'clock at night. The office building should have been completely empty at that hour. Derek always said he had to work late. So many late nights at the office. So much pressure. So many responsibilities that kept him away from home. Derek and Vanessa entered the frame from the hallway door. They did not even make it to the leather couch before they were pulling at each other's clothes with desperate hands. Grace slammed the laptop shut so hard the screen cracked slightly in the corner. Her stomach churned violently. She ran to her tiny bathroom and retched over the toilet. Nothing came up. She had not eaten anything all day, had not been able to force food down her throat. But her body heaved anyway, trying to expel something that could not be vomited out, trying to purge the images from her mind. The memories assaulted her now. Every moment from her marriage suddenly reframed, recontextualized, poisoned with the truth she now knew. Like looking at a beautiful painting and suddenly seeing the dark shapes hidden in the background, the skulls in the flowers, the demons in the clouds. 3 years ago, Derek had insisted quite firmly that Grace stop coming to his office for their lunch dates. They used to meet twice a week. She would bring food from home, or they would go to the little sandwich place across the street, talk about their days, connect. But then Derek said it was too distracting. I really need to focus on closing these big deals, sweetheart, he had said, and with that charming smile she used to love so much. You understand, right? You want me to succeed, right? She had felt hurt, but she had understood. His career was demanding. He was under a tremendous pressure. She wanted to be a supportive wife, not a burden, not needy or clingy. So she stopped coming, stopped interrupting his work, let him focus on his career. He had been protecting his affair, creating space for Vanessa, removing Grace from his workplace so he could be with his mistress without worrying about being discovered. 3 years ago, they had celebrated their 20th wedding anniversary. Derek had surprised her with a trip to Paris. She remembered being so happy, so grateful, feeling like their marriage was finally getting back on track after some rough years, some distance that had grown between them. They had made love in their hotel room with the Eiffel Tower lights glowing through the windows. Grace had cried happy tears against Derek's chest, told him she loved him, that she would always love him, that she could not imagine her life without him in it. Vanessa had probably been answering Derek's emails the entire week they were gone, managing his schedule, keeping his business running while he was away, counting down the days until he came home to her. 3 years ago, Grace's father had died suddenly of a massive heart attack. Grace got the call at 6 in the morning. Her father had collapsed in his driveway, was dead before the ambulance arrived. Derek could not make the funeral. Major client meeting, he had explained on the phone with genuine-sounding regret in his voice. I am so incredibly sorry, honey. I wish I could be there with you. Tell your mom I love her. I will make this up to you, I promise. Grace had driven 8 hours alone to Ohio, buried her father alone, supported her grieving mother alone, sat through the funeral service alone while everyone asked where her husband was. Why wasn't Derek there with her? She had made excuses. His work was so demanding. He had such important responsibilities. He wanted to be there, but he just could not get away. The security footage timestamp showed Derek and Vanessa together in his office that exact afternoon her father was being buried. 3 o'clock, right when Grace was standing at the graveside watching her father's casket being lowered into the ground. Derek had been having sex with his assistant. Grace's phone buzzed. Text message from Beth. I am coming over to your apartment right now. Do not even bother arguing with me about it. Grace texted back with numb fingers. I am fine, really. You are absolutely not fine. Nobody would be planning after what you are going through. I am bringing wine and Chinese food from that place you like. Be there in exactly 20 minutes. Grace did not have any energy left to protest. She walked to her living room window on the unsteady legs. The parking lot stretched below, cracked asphalt and faded yellow parking lines, old cars and overflowing dumpsters, a man walking his dog, a teenager skateboarding despite the sign saying no skateboarding. Normal life continuing while Grace's world exploded. In her old life, she had looked out over a crystal blue swimming pool and professionally landscaped gardens. The tennis court where she and Derek had played doubles with Connor and Lily on beautiful summer evenings. The sounds of her children laughing. The smell of flowers blooming. That house belonged to Derek now. Derek and Vanessa. The trophy wife was living in Grace's home, sleeping in Grace's bed, probably wearing some of the expensive clothes Grace had left behind in her hasty exit during the divorce, using Grace's kitchen, swimming in Grace's pool, living Grace's life while Grace worked at Target and ate ramen noodles and counted pennies to pay rent. Grace did something she had not done in many months. She opened the cardboard box of photo albums she had packed when she finally moved out of the marital home. Most of her belongings were still in a storage unit because this tiny apartment was far too small to hold 23 years of accumulated life. 23 years of memories and possessions and proof that she had once been happy. Connor as a baby, round face, huge blue eyes. His first birthday party with chocolate cake smeared across his chubby cheeks. Lily learning to walk in the backyard, chasing butterflies. Family vacations to Disney World when the kids were small. The Grand Canyon when they were older. That cabin in the mountains they used to rent every summer for 2 weeks. Building campfires, telling stories, feeling like a real family. Every single photograph was contaminated now. Poisoned. In this beach picture from 10 years ago, had Derek been texting Vanessa between building sandcastles with Connor? In this Christmas morning scene from 8 years ago, had he been counting down the hours until he could sneak away from his family and call his mistress? In this photo of their wedding anniversary dinner from 5 years ago, had he been thinking about Vanessa while kissing Grace goodnight? Grace turned pages slowly, studying images of her old life like evidence at a crime scene. Her wedding album. She looked impossibly young in the photos. 21 years old, hopeful and innocent and desperately in love, in that way only young people can be. Derek looked so handsome in his black tuxedo. They were both grinning like complete fools who truly believed love conquered everything, who thought their happiness was guaranteed, forever and ever, till death do us part. His vows echoed in her memory with perfect clarity. She could still hear his voice, young and confident and full of promise. I promise to love you, honor you, and cherish you in sickness and in health, for richer or poorer, forsaking all others, as long as we both shall live. Forsaking all others. The words were completely meaningless. Just sounds people made in churches to get what they wanted. Just a performance for family and friends. Empty promises that evaporated the moment real life got difficult or boring or inconvenient. The doorbell rang. Beth entered carrying plastic bags that smelled amazing. Sesame chicken and fried rice and egg rolls. She took one look at Grace's face and immediately set the food down on the counter to pull her into a tight hug. You look like absolute hell, Beth said with typical bluntness. I found evidence. James Whitmore gave me everything. Emails going back 4 years. Financial records showing systematic fraud. Security footage of Derek and Vanessa together in his office. Grace's voice sounded flat, emotionless, like she was reporting facts about someone else's life. The affair started at least 4 years ago, maybe even longer than that. Maybe from the very beginning of when Vanessa started working for him. Beth's face darkened with anger. That absolute son of a bitch. They sat on Grace's second-hand couch, the one with the broken spring. Beth poured wine into mismatched glasses Grace had bought at the dollar store. 3 for $1. Such a bargain. Grace explained everything she had found. The emails documenting every detail of Derek and Vanessa's affair, the explicit messages, the hotel reservations, the trips, the financial documents showing systematic fraud, the security footage that made her want to scrub her skin raw until she could remove the feeling of Derek's hands on her body. the hands that had touched her and Vanessa, and probably other women too. You absolutely have to take all this evidence to Marcus Sullivan immediately, Beth insisted. Your divorce attorney needs to see everything. The divorce is already final. What is the point now? It is over. Done. Signed and sealed. The point is Derek committed fraud, real fraud. He deliberately hid marital assets during legal proceedings. He lied under oath during your divorce depositions. This evidence could completely reopen your case. You could fight for a fair settlement instead of the scraps he threw at you. Could she? Grace's attorney, Marcus Sullivan, had warned her repeatedly that fighting Derek would be incredibly expensive. Derek had hired the 3 best divorce attorneys in the entire city, sharks who specialized in protecting wealthy men's assets during divorces. Grace could barely afford one lawyer's retainer fee. She had been forced to take Derek's settlement offer of $50,000 and her old Honda because she literally could not afford to keep fighting him in court. $50,000 for 23 years of marriage, for raising his children, for supporting his career, for moving across the country 3 times so he could take better care, for hosting dinner parties for his clients and colleagues, for being his partner in every possible way. Derek had kept absolutely everything else. The house worth $1.2 million. The vacation property in Aspen worth $800,000. His business worth several $1,000,000. His investment accounts, his retirement funds. Everything of value. Grace had gotten enough money to cover exactly 6 months of rent on this terrible apartment in a 15-year-old car that needed new brakes. I sat in Marcus Sullivan's office and signed those divorce papers, Grace said. Her voice sounded distant, even to herself, like someone else was speaking. My hands shook so badly I could barely write my own name on the signature line. The pen kept slipping. Marcus kept saying I could fight harder, that I should not accept such an unfair settlement, that I deserved so much better. But I was so tired, Beth, so completely broken. I just wanted it over. I wanted to stop bleeding. I thought if I just signed the papers and walked away, the pain would stop. Beth gripped Grace's hand hard enough to hurt, hard enough to ground her back in the present moment. It is not too late. You have real evidence now. Concrete proof that Derek lied about everything. Not just suspicions or gut feelings, actual documentation. He will destroy me if I try to fight him again. You know exactly how Derek operates when someone challenges him. He has connections everywhere. Money, power, the best lawyers in the entire state. He could bury me so deep I would never see daylight again. And you have the truth. That has to count for something in this world. Does it? Grace wanted to ask. Does truth actually matter when the other person has unlimited resources and absolutely no conscience? Grace's phone lit up with a text message from an unknown number. She almost ignored it completely. Another spam message probably. Another credit card offer or political campaign or charity asking for money she did not have. Then she read the preview text. This is Rachel Dawson. We need to talk urgently about Derek, about what really happened during your marriage. I am so incredibly sorry I did not speak up sooner. Rachel Dawson. Grace had not thought about Rachel in many months. Rachel and her husband Tom had been couple friends for years and years. They had played bridge together every Thursday night for 5 years straight. Drinks and cards and casual conversation. Tom worked for Derek's real estate company as a senior project manager. After the divorce became final, Rachel had stopped calling Grace completely, just disappeared from her life like Grace had been erased. Grace texted back with trembling fingers. What do you mean? 3 dots appeared on the screen. Disappeared, appeared again, like Rachel was typing and deleting and typing again, trying to find the right words. I knew about the affair with Vanessa. Tom and I both knew about it. Derek told Tom about Vanessa 2 years ago, made Tom promise not to tell you, threatened to fire him if he said anything. I am so ashamed we stayed silent and let you suffer. Can we please meet and talk? Fury ignited in Grace's chest like gasoline catching fire. White hot and consuming. Rachel knew, Tom knew. Who else had known about Derek's affair while Grace played the fool at dinner parties, in charity events? How many people had watched her smile and laugh and hold Derek's hand, knowing the whole time that he was cheating on her? How many people had whispered about her behind closed doors? She texted back quickly, "Come to my apartment, right now." 20 minutes later, Rachel Dawson sat on Grace's broken couch crying, mascara running down her carefully made-up face. "I am so sorry, Grace. I wanted to tell you so many times. I lost sleep over it. Tom said it was not our business, that we needed to stay completely out of your marriage problems. Derek told Tom you were already suspicious and paranoid about everything. He said telling you about Vanessa would push you over the edge mentally, that you were fragile and unstable and might hurt yourself." "Paranoid," Grace repeated. The word tasted like poison on her tongue. Bitter. Toxic. That is the exact word Derek used constantly. Paranoid. Unstable. Irrational. He told everyone I was mentally unstable so they would automatically think I was crazy when I questioned him about anything. "He was gaslighting you," Beth said flatly from her spot by the window. Arms crossed, expression hard. Classic narcissist manipulation technique. Make the victim doubt their own reality so they stop trusting their instincts. Rachel nodded miserably, wiping at her tears with shaking hands. "Tom felt absolutely terrible about keeping the secret from you. We both did, but Derek is Tom's direct boss. Derek could fire him with one phone call, no explanation needed, no recourse. We have 3 kids in private school, college tuition coming up for our oldest next year. We could not risk Tom losing his job. We just could not afford it." Grace understood the logic. Intellectually, she understood perfectly why Tom and Rachel had stayed silent. Financial security versus moral obligation. Protecting their own family versus helping Grace. It was a calculation people made every single day. But emotionally, the betrayal cut deeper than she had expected. How many dinner parties had she attended where everyone in the room knew her husband was actively cheating? How many smiling faces had hidden the truth from her while she laughed and told stories and served food like nothing was wrong? "Did Vanessa ever come to any of our gatherings?" Grace asked. Her voice sounded remarkably calm, controlled, like she was asking about the weather. "Our Thursday bridge nights, did she ever come to those?" Rachel's silence answered the question more clearly than words ever could. "She was there, in my home, sitting in my living room on my furniture, playing cards with us, drinking wine from my glasses, eating food I had prepared, and you all knew she was sleeping with my husband." "Grace, please let me explain more. Get out of my apartment. Right now. Please, I'm trying to apologize and make things right." "Get out!" Rachel fled. The apartment door slammed hard enough to rattle the windows in their frames. Beth remained silent, a steady pillar of support. Grace paced her small living room, back and forth, 10 steps to the wall, turn around, 10 steps back. The walls felt like they were closing in around her, crushing her, suffocating her slowly. Her phone rang, Connor's number lighting up the screen. "Mom, Dad wants to talk to you urgently. He is here at my dorm room right now. He drove 2 hours to campus just to tell me in person that you are planning something crazy at tomorrow night's gala." "Put him on speakerphone, Connor." "Mom, I do not think—" "Put him on speaker now, Sato." Derek's voice came through the phone, smooth and controlled as always. That voice that had once made Grace feel safe and loved. Now it just made her skin crawl. "Grace, let us please be reasonable adults about this situation." Reasonable. That is incredibly rich coming from you, Derek. "I know you are hurting right now. Divorce is incredibly difficult for everyone involved. But showing up at the charity gala just to cause some kind of dramatic scene will only embarrass you publicly and damage our children emotionally. Think about Connor and Lily. Think about what this will do to them. The children. You suddenly care so much about the children?" "I have always cared deeply about Connor and Lily. You know that. Grace, you need professional help. Serious professional help. This obsession with me and Vanessa is not healthy behavior. It is concerning, disturbing actually." There it was again, the subtle accusation wrapped in false concern. The implication that Grace was mentally unstable, unhinged, dangerous, that she needed psychiatric intervention. Derek was already controlling the narrative before Grace even made a single move, setting her up to look crazy if she spoke out, making sure everyone would doubt her credibility. "I deserve better than this," Grace said. Each word came out clear and strong. "I deserved honesty from my husband. I deserved respect. I deserved faithfulness. I deserved a husband who actually kept his wedding vows instead of breaking them repeatedly for years. I do not know what lies someone has been filling your head with. I have evidence, Derek, real evidence, not suspicions, not feelings, actual documentation. Emails between you and Vanessa going back 4 years, financial records showing you systematically hid marital assets, security footage from your office, everything." Silence on the phone line, complete silence. Grace could almost hear Derek's mind working, calculating his next move, running through his options. "Grace, be very careful about what you say next. If you are planning to slander me publicly with false accusations, I will have absolutely no choice but to take serious legal action against you. Defamation, slander. I will sue you for everything you have left." "Legal action? You mean like the legal fraud you committed during our entire divorce proceedings?" "I did no such thing. That is a complete lie. The offshore accounts in the Cayman Islands, the shell companies registered in Delaware, the marital assets you transferred to your mother's name exactly 3 months before you filed for divorce. I have complete documentation of all of it, Derek. Every transaction, every hidden account, everything." She heard Derek's breathing change over the phone. The smooth confidence cracked just slightly, just enough to let her know she had hit a nerve. "Where did you possibly get—" He stopped himself. "James, that disloyal son of a bitch, gave you confidential company documents. James told me the truth, something you never once bothered to do in 23 years of marriage. James Whitmore has his own agenda. He is trying to push me out of the company we built together. He wants control. You are just a pawn in his game against me. He is using you." Maybe that is true, or maybe James finally grew a conscience after watching you destroy your family for your own selfish desires. "Stay away from the gala tomorrow night, Grace. I am warning you seriously. You do not want to start a war with me. You cannot win. You do not have the resources." "A war," Grace laughed. The sound was harsh and foreign to her own ears. Bitter. "Derek, you started this war 4 years ago when you first decided to sleep with your assistant, when you first decided to betray our marriage vows, when you first decided to hide money from me. I am just finally fighting back, finally defending myself instead of just accepting your abuse." She hung up the phone before Derek could respond. Her hands were shaking, her heart pounding, but she felt something she had not felt in years: power, control, the ability to fight instead of just enduring. After Derek hung up, Grace sat in the heavy silence of her apartment. The quiet felt oppressive, thick. Beth made tea in the tiny kitchen. The ritual felt absurd somehow. Tea for trauma, tea for betrayal, tea for the moment your entire life revealed itself as an elaborate lie constructed by someone you trusted completely. "You rattled him," Beth observed as she brought 2 mismatched mugs to the couch. "That is definitely good. He will retaliate hard." Derek always retaliates when someone challenges him or threatens his control. "Let him try. You have real evidence now, not just accusations or hurt feelings." Grace's phone buzzed continuously with incoming text messages. Unknown numbers, mutual friends she had not heard from in months or years, suddenly very concerned about her well-being. The Whisper network was activating rapidly across the entire city. Derek was already managing the narrative before Grace could tell her side, controlling the story, making sure his version reached everyone important before Grace could speak her truth. One text message stood out from all the rest. From Patricia Holloway, Derek's mother, Grace's former mother-in-law who had never quite approved of her. "I always knew you were not good enough for my son, Derek. This vindictive behavior proves everything I suspected about your character from the beginning. Leave Derek and Vanessa alone. They deserve happiness. Move on with your pathetic life. You embarrass yourself and our family name." Grace stared at the message. Patricia had never liked Grace. Not from the very first day Derek brought her home to meet his family. 23 years of subtle digs and backhanded compliments. Criticisms carefully disguised as helpful concern. Comments about Grace's cooking not being quite as good as Patricia's. Suggestions that Grace should lose weight or change her hair or dress more fashionably. Implications that Grace was not quite smart enough or sophisticated enough or ambitious enough for a man like Derek. And now this open cruelty. Grace's fingers moved across the phone screen quickly. Anger making her bold. Patricia, did you know Derek was transferring marital assets into your personal bank accounts during our divorce proceedings? Did you actively help your son commit financial fraud against his wife? Because I have documents showing exactly that. Detailed bank records. I guess I will see you tomorrow night at the gala. We can discuss it then in person. Beth looked over Grace's shoulder and whistled low. Damn, girl, you are playing for keeps now. I am done being nice and understanding and cooperative. Done being the accommodating ex-wife who protects everyone else's comfort and reputation while I suffer in silence and poverty. Grace walked to her bedroom. She opened the final cardboard box from the marital home. The one she had been studiously avoiding for months because opening it meant fully accepting that her marriage was truly over, that Derek was never coming back, that her old life was completely gone forever. Inside, wrapped carefully in tissue paper, was her wedding dress. She pulled it out slowly. The fabric felt strange in her hands, like something from another lifetime, another universe. The dress still fit, though much more loosely than before. Grace stood in front of her full-length mirror, a ghost in white satin. The woman she had been on her wedding day no longer existed anywhere. That naive 21-year-old girl who believed in forever and happily ever after and true love conquering all obstacles had died slowly over 4 years of systematic lies. Grace carefully removed the dress, folded it with precise movements, put it back in the box with the tissue paper. Then she pulled out the black dress she had planned to wear to last year's gala before everything exploded, held it up against her body. Different woman now, different dress, different ending to this story than the one she had imagined. The tears came then, finally. Grace had not cried in months. She had been too numb, too shocked, too busy just surviving day by day, getting up and going to work and paying bills and pretending everything was fine when nothing was fine. But now, surrounded by physical evidence of Derek's systematic betrayal, the full weight of everything crashed down on her like a collapsing building. She had loved him, truly loved him with everything she had to give, built an entire life with him, sacrificed her own career ambitions so he could chase his dreams without distraction, moved across the country 3 times for his job promotions, hosted dinner parties for his clients and colleagues even when she was exhausted, raised his children, been his partner in every possible way a person could be a partner. And Derek had repaid her with infidelity and manipulation and financial abandonment and systematic emotional abuse. Beth found Grace on the bedroom floor clutching the wedding dress and sobbing. Let it all out, Beth said gently, sitting down beside her on the carpet. Let every bit of it out. You have been holding this in way too long. I'm so angry, Grace gasped between sobs, and so sad at the same time, and so humiliated. Everyone knew what he was doing to me. Everyone in our entire social circle. And I was the very last person to know. The stupid, naive wife who believed her husband's lies. The fool. You were not stupid. You were trusting. That is completely different. I ignored all the warning signs, Beth. So many signs. He came home late, constantly smelling like perfume that was not mine. He stopped wanting to be intimate with me. He became emotionally distant and critical of everything I did. I knew something was wrong. Deep down in my gut, I knew. But I convinced myself it was just stress from his job, or health issues, or midlife crisis. Anything except the obvious truth staring me right in the face. Derek manipulated you, Beth said firmly. He systematically gaslit you for years. He made you doubt your own perceptions and instincts. That is psychological abuse, Grace. As real and damaging as any physical abuse, even though it leaves no visible scars. Was it abuse? Grace had never thought of her marriage in those terms before. Abuse was something that happened to other women, women in different circumstances. Derek had never hit her, never screamed at her or thrown things or made threats. He had been subtle about his cruelty, gentle even, soft-spoken, the kind of manipulation that left no visible bruises but destroyed you from the inside out so completely that you forgot who you used to be. Grace got up from the floor eventually, washed her face in the bathroom sink with cold water, looked at herself in the medicine cabinet mirror. 42 years old, 20 pounds underweight, dark circles under her eyes that no amount of concealer could hide anymore. Hair that needed cutting and coloring, but she could not afford the salon. This was what survival looked like. This was what barely making it through each day did to a person. She walked to her kitchen and forced herself to eat something. Scrambled eggs and toast. The food tasted like cardboard and ashes, but she made herself swallow every bite. Beth watched approvingly from the doorway, making sure Grace actually ate instead of just pushing food around on her plate. "What is your actual plan for tomorrow night?" Beth asked carefully. "I honestly do not know yet, but I am definitely going to that gala, and I am definitely going to tell the truth about what Derek did to me. He will fight back hard, Grace, harder than you have ever seen him fight before. I know that. I am not naive about what I am walking into. You could lose your relationship with Connor and Lily. Derek will absolutely try to turn them against you if you publicly expose him. Maybe, probably actually, but at least I will know I finally stood up for myself, that I stopped being a victim and became a truth teller instead. That has to mean something." Grace's phone rang, unknown number. She almost ignored it completely. Then something made her answer. Some instinct. "Grace Holloway?" A woman's voice. Young, nervous, familiar somehow. "Yes, who is this?" "This is Vanessa Pierce. Vanessa Holloway, actually. Please do not hang up on me. I desperately need to talk to you about something important." Grace's hand trembled so hard she nearly dropped the phone on the floor. Vanessa Pierce, the other woman, the trophy wife, the homewrecker, the reason Grace's entire life had imploded into poverty and humiliation and shame. The woman who was living in Grace's house and sleeping in Grace's bed and raising Grace's children part-time and living the life that should have been Grace's forever. "Why are you calling me?" Grace's voice came out harsher than she intended. "Because I need you to know something very important. Something Derek absolutely does not want anyone to know." Beth's eyes went wide. She held up her own phone urgently and mouthed the words, "Record this conversation." Grace nodded and switched Vanessa to speaker mode so Beth could hear everything. "I am listening. You have 2 minutes before I hang up. Derek is planning something big for tomorrow night's gala, something really bad. He is going to make a public announcement that you have been harassing us relentlessly, that you have been stalking me, following me, sending threatening messages. He is going to request a restraining order against you in front of everyone. His goal is to humiliate you so badly that you never challenge him again, that you crawl back into your hole and stay there." Grace's blood ran ice cold through her veins. "Why would you possibly tell me this? What is your angle? What do you want from me?" "Because I am not who you think I am, and Derek is definitely not who I thought he was when I married him 6 months ago." "What does that mean?" Long silence on the phone. Grace could hear Vanessa breathing, could hear traffic sounds in the background. She was outside somewhere, away from Derek, away from the house. Then Vanessa spoke again, her voice shaking. "Can we please meet somewhere, face to face? There are things you need to know, things I need to tell you about Derek, about what he really is." "Is this some kind of trap? Is Derek listening to this conversation right now? Is he coaching you on what to say?" "No, God, no. He is at a business dinner downtown with clients. He has no idea I am calling you. Grace, please. I am trying to help you. I am trying to help both of us. Why would you possibly want to help me? You destroyed my marriage. You took my husband. You are living in my house. You won. You got everything you ever wanted from this situation." "I did not destroy your marriage, Grace. Your marriage was already destroyed long before I even met Derek. He destroyed it. I was just the weapon he used against you, the excuse he needed." The line went dead. Vanessa had hung up abruptly. Grace stared at her phone like it might explode in her hand. Beth spoke first. "That was the strangest conversation I have ever heard in my entire life. It has to be a trap. Derek is definitely setting me up somehow, using Vanessa to manipulate me. Maybe, or maybe Vanessa is actually telling you the truth for once. Why would she tell me the truth? She is married to Derek now, legally his wife. She won the prize. She got everything she wanted, the rich husband, the big house, the lifestyle. Beth's expression turned thoughtful. She walked to the window and stared out at the parking lot. Did she really win, though? Think about it logically, Grace. Really think about who Vanessa was before Derek. She was his executive assistant. Young, probably ambitious, probably wanted a successful career in real estate. Derek is her boss, significantly older, powerful, wealthy. Maybe Vanessa did not have as much actual choice in this relationship as we have been assuming all this time. She chose to sleep with a married man. Nobody forced her into bed with Derek at gunpoint. Did she choose it? Or did Derek manipulate her the same exact way he manipulated you for 23 years? He is really good at manipulation, Grace. It is his specialty, his talent. Grace had not seriously considered that possibility before. She had been so focused on hating Vanessa that she had never once stopped to ask herself what Vanessa's actual role in all this really was, what had really happened. Executive assistant. Employee. 29 years old now, which meant she was probably 25 when the affair started. Derek was 45, 16 years older than Vanessa. Her direct supervisor at work, the person who controlled her paycheck and her career advancement and her professional future. If Derek did manipulate Vanessa into the affair, Grace said slowly, then she is as much a victim as I am, another woman he used and abused. Or Vanessa has finally realized what kind of man she actually married, and now she desperately wants out but does not know how to escape. Grace's phone buzzed with a new text message. Vanessa again. Coffee shop on Elm Street, tomorrow morning at exactly 10 o'clock. I will prove I am telling the truth. I have evidence you need to see before the gala tomorrow night. Evidence that will change everything. Beth looked at Grace seriously. Are you going to meet her? I think I have to. I need to know what she knows. On that night, Grace could not sleep at all, not even for 5 minutes. She lay in her small bedroom staring at the ceiling, watching shadows move across the cracked plaster. The conversation with Vanessa replayed in her mind on an endless loop. The young woman's voice had sounded genuinely scared, desperate even. But Grace had trusted Derek completely for 23 years. Look where that blind trust had guarded her. Divorced and broke and alone. Her phone lit up in the darkness. Text from Connor. Mom, please be really careful. Dad is super angry about something. He is talking about getting more lawyers involved. He mentioned something about a restraining order. I do not want you to get hurt worse than you already are. Another text immediately after. This one from Lily. Mom, whatever you are planning for tomorrow night, please do not do it. Please. Dad says you are going to embarrass yourself badly in front of the entire city. Everyone we know. I cannot handle any more drama between you two. I just cannot take it anymore. Grace's heart broke into smaller pieces. Her children. They did not know the full truth yet about what their father had done. Derek had controlled the narrative with them too, carefully crafted the story. Poor Dad struggling to deal with his mentally unstable ex-wife. Poor Dad trying to move on with his life and find happiness, while Grace caused constant problems and drama. The hardest part is knowing my children do not understand what really happened, Grace whispered to the empty room. They think I am the problem. They do not see what their father really is yet, what he did to me, to all of us. But maybe after tomorrow night's gala, everyone would finally see the truth. Maybe the light would finally shine on all of Derek's lies. Maybe justice was actually possible. Grace got out of bed at 2 in the morning, wide awake. She pulled out all the evidence from James's box, began organizing it methodically, emails printed out and highlighted with important passages marked, financial documents carefully tabbed and annotated with explanatory notes, security footage transferred to multiple USB drives as backup in case something went wrong with the technology. If she was actually going to war with Derek Holloway, she needed serious ammunition. At 2:30 in the morning, Grace found herself in the kitchen, cleaning compulsively. Not just tidying up, deep cleaning, scrubbing the baseboards with an old toothbrush, organizing the cabinets alphabetically by food type, wiping down the inside of the refrigerator, the kind of frantic panic cleaning that happened when everything else in your life felt completely out of control and you desperately needed something, anything that you could actually control. By 4 in the morning, her tiny apartment sparkled. Every surface gleamed, every item in its perfect place. And Grace had made her final decision about what came next. She was going to that charity gala tomorrow night. She was meeting Vanessa beforehand to hear what she had to say. And she was telling the truth about Derek no matter what happened next, no matter what it cost her, no matter who believed her. The truth needed to be told. The coffee shop was nearly empty when Grace arrived the next morning at exactly 10 o'clock. She scanned the room carefully, looking for any sign of Derek or his private investigator or anyone who might be watching. A few college students hunched over laptops, an elderly couple sharing a muffin, a businessman reading the newspaper. No sign of Vanessa anywhere. Maybe this whole thing was just an elaborate setup after all. Maybe Derek had sent Vanessa to lure Grace out into public so he could serve her with legal papers. Or maybe Vanessa had cold feet and decided not to show up. Grace was about to leave when she finally spotted her. Corner booth in the very back. Baseball cap pulled low over her face. Oversized sunglasses hiding most of her features. Baggy sweatshirt despite the warm weather. Trying desperately to be invisible. Vanessa Pierce, the woman who had destroyed Grace's life. Except up close, Vanessa looked nothing like the confident, trophy wife Grace had been imagining all these months. She looked exhausted beyond words, frightened, and so young, younger than Grace remembered. Just a girl, really, a scared girl who looked like she had not slept in days. "Thank you so much for coming," Vanessa said. Her voice trembled noticeably. "I was not sure you would actually show up." Grace slid into the booth across from her, kept her face neutral, gave nothing away. "Talk. You have exactly 5 minutes before I leave." Vanessa removed her sunglasses with shaking hands. Grace saw the bruise immediately, faded to yellow and green, but still clearly visible if you knew to look for it. On her left cheekbone. The shape suggested fingers, someone's hand. "Did Derek do that to you?" "That is not the main reason I asked you here to meet me. But yes, 3 days ago, we had a really bad argument about tomorrow night's gala. About you, actually. I told him he was being way too aggressive in his plans, that he should just leave you alone. He said I did not understand how dangerous you were to our life together. How you could destroy everything we had built. Then he hit me. Dangerous. So now I am dangerous to him. Derek is absolutely terrified of you, Grace. More scared than I have ever seen him. Because you know things now. Things that could completely destroy him and his reputation and his business. Things you should probably know too, apparently." Vanessa pulled out her phone with trembling hands, showed Grace a document on the screen. "My marriage contract, the prenuptial agreement I signed before our wedding. Derek's lawyer gave it to me exactly 3 days before we got married. Told me to read it super carefully. But I was so excited and in love and overwhelmed that I just signed without really reading or understanding the fine print." Grace read the terms carefully. Standard prenup language at first, then she got to the important parts. If Vanessa left Derek within 5 years of marriage, she would get absolutely nothing. $0. Not even basic spousal support for living expenses. If Derek left her, she would get a modest settlement of $100,000. But only if she signed a comprehensive non-disclosure agreement. Only if she never spoke publicly about Derek or their relationship or anything she knew about him. Ever. It is basically a gag order disguised as a prenuptial agreement, Vanessa said quietly. "I am trapped. Completely trapped. If I leave him, I get nothing. I have no money of my own. I gave up my career to marry him. I have nowhere to go. Why are you showing me this?" "Because I desperately want out of this marriage. And I need your help to escape. I cannot do it alone." Grace laughed. The sound came out bitter and harsh, angry. "You want my help? You actually want me to help you? You destroyed my marriage. You slept with my husband for years while he was still married to me. You took everything I had, and now you want me to help you?" I did not destroy your marriage, Grace. Please believe me. Your marriage was already destroyed long before I ever entered the picture. Derek told me you two were legally separated, that you had already agreed to divorce, that it was just a matter of paperwork and timing, that you were just waiting for the right moment to tell Connor and Lily. He lied to me about absolutely everything. Obviously, he lied to you. That is what Derek does. He lies. I know that now. I know so many things now that I wish I had known 3 years ago. Vanessa's voice broke. Tears started streaming down her face. Derek is not the man I thought I was marrying at all. He is cruel, controlling in ways I never imagined were possible. He monitors my phone constantly, reads all my text messages and emails, tracks my location every single second of every day, controls every penny I spend. I cannot see my own friends anymore, cannot visit my family in another state. I am basically a prisoner in that house. Your old house. Grace studied Vanessa carefully, really looked at her for the first time since the divorce, and saw herself reflected back. The younger version who had believed Derek's promises without question, who had trusted that Derek would cherish and protect her forever, who had learned far too late that Derek only cherished himself and protected his own interests above all else. Why did you really call me, Vanessa? What do you actually want? Because Derek is planning something huge for tomorrow night's gala, something terrible. He is going to announce publicly that you are mentally unstable and dangerous. He is going to present fake evidence of harassment, emails that I did not write, text messages I did not send, security footage that has been digitally manipulated to make you look like a stalker. He is framing me. Yes, completely framing you. And then he is going to request a temporary restraining order against you in front of everyone. 500 people watching. He wants you arrested if you ever try to contact Connor or Lily again. He wants full custody of your children with no visitation rights for you. He wants to destroy you so completely that you can never fight back. Grace felt ice spread through her veins, freezing her from the inside out. Can he actually do that legally? Get a restraining order based on fake evidence? With enough money and the right lawyers? Yes, he absolutely can. The system is not designed to protect people like us, Grace. It is designed to protect people like Derek. What exactly do you want from me, Vanessa? Why take this risk to warn me? I want to help you expose him publicly. I have evidence too. Different evidence than what you have. Things Derek does not know I've found. Secret bank accounts he has hidden from both of us. Additional offshore holdings. Business deals that are completely illegal. Money laundering. And I have this. Vanessa pulled out a small USB drive from her purse. Security footage from the house. From Derek's home office that he thinks is completely private. Footage of him with other women. Multiple different women. He has been cheating on me almost constantly since before we even got married. I am not the first woman he has done this to. I will not be the last. Grace was not surprised at all. Of course Derek was cheating on Vanessa too. Of course he was. That was simply what Derek did. Lying and cheating were as natural to him as breathing. It was his fundamental nature. You are still legally his wife, Grace pointed out carefully. You could be charged with theft if you took that footage without his permission. He could have you arrested. I do not care anymore. I honestly do not. I want out of this marriage, and I want Derek to pay for what he has done to both of us, to all the women he has used and discarded. What are you actually proposing we do? We go to the gala together tomorrow night. We walk in as a united front. You bring all your evidence. I bring all my evidence. We expose him publicly. Everything, every lie, every affair, every fraud, in front of everyone who matters in this entire city. They will just think we are vindictive ex-wives, bitter women who cannot move on. Let them think whatever they want. At least the truth will finally be out there in the open. At least people will know what Derek really is behind his expensive suits and charming smile. Grace considered carefully. This plan was incredibly risky. Dangerous even. Derek would definitely retaliate in ways she could not even imagine yet. He always retaliated when someone challenged his control or threatened his image. But what did Grace actually have left to lose at this point? Her dignity? Already destroyed. Her financial security? Already gone. Her children's respect? Derek was systematically working to poison that anyway. Maybe it was finally time to stop playing defense. Time to stop just reacting to Derek's moves. Time to start playing offense instead. All right, Grace said slowly, but we do this exactly my way. We present documented evidence, not dramatic accusations. We show financial records and videos, not tears and emotions. We make it completely impossible for anyone to dismiss us as hysterical women. Vanessa nodded eagerly, relief flooding her face. Agreed, completely agreed, whatever you think is best. They spent the next 2 hours at that coffee shop planning every single detail, organizing all the evidence into a coherent presentation, coordinating their approach, deciding who would say what and when. By the time they finally left, Grace felt something she had not felt in many long months. Hope. Actual real hope that justice might be possible. Grace sat in her parked car for 15 full minutes before she could make herself drive home. Just sat there in the parking lot, engine turned off, keys in her lap, unable to make her body move, processing everything. The universe felt different somehow, bigger, like it had expanded while she was inside the coffee shop, full of possibilities she had stopped believing in long ago. The hours before the gala blurred together like a fever dream. Grace and Vanessa met secretly twice more that day to finalize their plans and rehearse exactly what they would say. Beth joined them for the final meeting late that afternoon, providing moral support and practical advice about presentation and public speaking. You absolutely need a lawyer present at the gala, Beth insisted firmly. Someone official who can verify that all this evidence is legitimate and legally admissible in court. Grace called Marcus Sullivan, her divorce attorney, explained the entire situation in detail. Marcus was silent on the phone for a long moment after she finished. Grace, I have to be completely honest with you. This plan is incredibly risky, extremely dangerous. Derek will immediately sue you for slander and defamation and anything else his lawyers can think of. Even if absolutely everything I say is true and fully documented with evidence, truth is a legal defense against defamation charges, yes. But litigation is extremely expensive. It could drag on for years. Derek has very deep pockets and access to the best attorneys money can buy anywhere in this state. He could bury you in legal fees even if you ultimately win the case. Then I will represent myself if that becomes necessary. I am completely done being afraid of him, Marcus. Marcus sighed heavily through the phone. All right, I will be at the gala tomorrow night. I will review all your evidence beforehand to verify it is legitimate, and I will stand right beside you when you present everything publicly. But Grace, please be prepared mentally. This situation could get very ugly very quickly. Derek will fight back with everything he has. It is already ugly, Marcus. I am just finally bringing all his lies and abuse into the light where everyone can see. Connor and Lily both called Grace multiple times throughout the day, both of them desperately begging her not to attend the gala. Derek had apparently told them in great detail that Grace was planning something destructive, something terrible that would hurt everyone involved and embarrass the entire family publicly. Grace listened to their desperate pleas and said almost nothing in response. She could not defend herself or explain her plans without revealing what Derek had done, and she absolutely would not tell them the truth about their father over the phone. They deserved to hear it properly. They deserved to see the evidence with their own eyes. They would learn everything soon enough. The afternoon before the gala, Grace got her hair professionally done for the first time in many months. Cut and styled and colored to cover the gray that had appeared during the divorce. Got her nails done at the salon next door. A manicure and pedicure. Small luxuries she had not been able to afford in so long. She bought a new dress with money she absolutely could not afford to spend. Money that should go toward rent and groceries. But she did it anyway. Not black this time. Red, bold and defiant. She was completely done hiding in dark corners and blending into the background. Beth came over that evening to help Grace get ready. They drank wine from the dollar store and talked about everything except Derek and tomorrow night. Old memories, college stories, better times when life was simpler and love seemed real. Are you scared about tomorrow night? Beth finally asked when they could not avoid the topic anymore. Absolutely terrified, Grace admitted honestly. More scared than I have ever been in my entire life, but I am more scared of staying silent forever, of letting Derek win completely. Grace's phone buzzed with a text. James Whitmore. Grace, I heard through the grapevine you are planning something significant for tomorrow night's gala. Whatever it is, I support you completely and without reservation. And I have one more piece of evidence for you if you need it. The real estate deal Derek closed last month with the Riverside Property Group. It is completely fraudulent. Fabricated paperwork, fake appraisals, money laundering. I have complete documentation if you think you need it for your case against him. Grace called James immediately. Why are you actually doing all this? Derek is your business partner. You built that company together. Was my business partner. Past tense. I am leaving the company at the end of this month. Derek's corruption goes much deeper than you know, Grace. He has been using our business for serious money laundering for at least 3 years. Probably longer. I reported everything to federal authorities last week. The FBI is investigating him right now. I want to make absolutely sure you have everything you possibly need to protect yourself from him. Money laundering? Jesus Christ, James, what has Derek gotten himself into? Things I should have stopped years ago when I first suspected what was happening. I was a complete coward. I prioritized my own financial security over doing the right thing. I am trying to make up for that cowardice now, even though it is far too late. After hanging up, Grace sat in stunned silence. Money laundering, offshore accounts, fraud. Derek was not just a cheating husband and a manipulative ex. He was an actual criminal, a serious criminal who could potentially go to prison. Starting over feels absolutely impossible, Grace said quietly to Beth. But staying silent feels so much worse. I cannot live with myself if I do not tell the truth. Vanessa texted at 8 that evening. I am ready. Are you ready too? Grace texted back immediately. Yes, I will see you tomorrow night at the gala. Grace slept surprisingly well that night. She had expected crushing anxiety. Nightmares about everything going terribly wrong. Public humiliation. Instead, she felt strangely calm, centered. Whatever happened at the gala tomorrow night, at least she had finally stopped being a passive victim accepting Derek's abuse. She had transformed into a truth teller willing to fight back. The Children's Hospital Charity Gala sparkled with wealth and status and barely concealed social climbing. Grace arrived with Beth and Marcus Sullivan at exactly 7:30. The grand ballroom looked exactly as she remembered. Crystal chandeliers, gold-trimmed columns, marble floors polished to a mirror shine. Every head in the room seemed to turn when she walked in. Whispers spread like wildfire through the crowd. Poor Grace Holloway. She actually showed up. Can you believe it? Coming here to see her ex-husband parade his trophy wife around? How pathetic. How desperate. Let them whisper. Let them judge. Let them think whatever they wanted. They would know the real truth soon enough. Derek stood near the bar with Vanessa on his arm like an expensive accessory, a trophy to display. She looked absolutely stunning in a white designer gown that probably cost more than Grace's entire monthly salary. The perfect trophy wife, young and beautiful and elegant. Derek looked smug and confident, completely in control of his world. He had already won this war in his mind, or so he thought. Grace walked past them without acknowledging either one, did not even glance in their direction. Found her assigned table near the back of the ballroom. Sat down with her back straight, waited patiently for what would come next. Derek approached during the cocktail hour. Vanessa stayed back near the bar, watching everything carefully with fearful eyes. Grace, I am genuinely surprised you actually came tonight after everything I said to you. I donated $10,000 to this charity last year. I have every right to be here tonight. About that generous donation, we both know you cannot afford to donate anything this year. You are struggling financially quite badly from what I understand. It is honestly sad to watch you like this. Is it sad? Because from where I sit, I may have lost money in our divorce, but I gained something much more valuable than money. I gained clarity about who you really are. Derek's smile did not reach his cold eyes. Clarity, is that what you are calling your obsession with me and Vanessa these days? I am not obsessed with you, Derek. I am simply informed. There is a significant difference between those two things. Grace, I am going to make an announcement tonight. A public announcement about your harassment of me and my wife, about your obvious mental instability. I think it is finally time everyone here knew the truth about what I have been dealing with from you. The truth, how incredibly funny that you should mention truth. Grace excused herself and walked calmly to the ladies' room. She stood at the sink, gripping the cold porcelain edge, hands shaking despite her calm exterior. This was it, the actual moment of truth. No going back after this. She looked at herself in the mirror. Red dress, perfect makeup, strong posture. On the outside, she looked completely confident, powerful. On the inside, she was absolutely terrified beyond words. But she was doing this anyway. She was doing it for herself, for her children, for every woman Derek had ever hurt. Back in the ballroom, Derek approached the stage. The master of ceremonies handed him the microphone with a respectful smile. Derek's voice boomed through the expensive sound system, filling every corner of the massive room. Good evening, everyone. Thank you all so much for supporting the Children's Hospital tonight. Before we continue with our dinner service, I need to address something deeply personal. Something I have been reluctant to discuss publicly, but can no longer ignore. My ex-wife Grace is here tonight, and I want everyone here to know she has been struggling with serious mental health issues since our divorce became final 6 months ago. Shocked gasps rippled through the crowd of 500 guests. Hands flew to mouths, eyes went wide. Grace stood up slowly from her table. She has been harassing me and my wife Vanessa for months now, relentlessly, sending threatening messages at all hours, showing up uninvited at our home repeatedly, following us to restaurants. We have tried desperately to handle this situation privately and with compassion, but her behavior has escalated to dangerous levels that we can no longer ignore. Grace walked steadily toward the stage, every single eye in the ballroom locked on her now. The room had gone completely silent except for Derek's voice. I am filing for a restraining order tomorrow morning, first thing. I sincerely hope Grace gets the professional psychiatric help she so desperately needs for everyone's safety. Derek smiled at the crowd, sympathetic, concerned, playing the role perfectly. The poor victim of an unstable ex-wife. The good man trying to do the right thing. Grace climbed the stage steps slowly, one step at a time. Derek's confident smile faltered just slightly when he saw her approaching him. What do you think you are doing? Derek hissed quietly. Grace took the microphone from his hand firmly, telling the truth, the real truth this time. Not your carefully constructed lies. My name is Grace Holloway, Grace said into the microphone. Her voice came out steady and strong, filling the ballroom room. And everything my ex-husband just told you is a complete and total lie. Derek tried to grab the microphone back from her hand. Marcus Sullivan stepped onto the stage quickly, physically blocking Derek's path to Grace. For those of you who do not know me, I am Marcus Sullivan. I am Grace's divorce attorney. Mrs. Holloway has asked me to verify that all the information she is about to present tonight is fully documented with evidence and legally accurate. The ballroom fell into absolute silence. 500 people watching, waiting, barely breathing. Grace pulled out her phone, connected it to the projection screen behind her. The screen that was supposed to show a video about the Children's Hospital. 4 years ago, my husband Derek began an affair with his executive assistant, a woman named Vanessa Pierce. I have email correspondence documenting their relationship from the very beginning to the present day. The emails appeared on the giant screen, intimate messages between Derek and Vanessa, explicit descriptions of their sexual encounters, detailed plans for secret meetings, timestamps showing the affair lasted at least 4 years. Derek's face went completely white. All the blood drained from his face in an instant. 3 years ago, Derek began systematically moving marital assets into accounts I did not know existed. Offshore accounts in the Cayman Islands. Shell companies registered in Delaware with fake addresses. His mother, Patricia's personal bank accounts. I have complete financial records showing every single transaction, every dollar he hid from me during our divorce. The financial documents appeared on screen. Spreadsheets showing millions of dollars systematically hidden from Grace during the divorce proceedings. Bank statements, wire transfers. Patricia Holloway stood up in the audience, looking absolutely stricken. 2 years ago, Derek told me constantly that I was paranoid, mentally unstable, imagining problems that did not exist in our marriage. He took me to a marriage therapist who prescribed anxiety medication for me, all while Derek continued his affair with Vanessa and continued systematically hiding our money from me in preparation for divorce. Grace's voice never wavered once, strong and clear. 1 year ago, Derek filed for divorce. He told me we had no money left to fight in court, that legal battles would destroy us both financially, that I should just accept his settlement offer of $50,000 for 23 years of marriage. I signed those papers because I could not afford to keep fighting him anymore. Grace, stop this right now, Derek commanded loudly. Grace ignored him completely. But I recently learned the actual truth about everything. Derek had been planning this divorce for years, systematically hiding assets while lying to me, manipulating our finances while telling me we were broke, committing fraud while playing the concerned husband. And he did it all so he could marry Vanessa without losing his wealth in a divorce settlement. Vanessa stood up in the audience, walked slowly toward the stage in her white gown, stood beside Grace in solidarity. I am Vanessa Pierce, or Vanessa Holloway, as I am legally known now, and everything Grace just said is absolutely true. Every single word. The crowd erupted in shocked conversation, voices rising. Derek lunged toward Vanessa on the stage. 2 security guards intervened immediately, grabbing his arms and pulling him back. I was Derek's executive assistant, Vanessa continued. Her voice shook but remained clear and audible. I was 25 years old when he began pursuing me romantically. He was my direct boss, my supervisor, the person who controlled my paycheck and my career. I did not know he was still married to Grace. He told me they were legally separated, that the divorce papers were already filed, that it was just a matter of time, that he loved me. I believed every word he said. Tears streamed down Vanessa's face. I believed him completely, and by the time I learned the real truth about his marriage, I was already involved, already compromised, already trapped in this situation with no way out. Grace put a steadying hand on Vanessa's shoulder. 2 women united against a common enemy. 2 women Derek Holloway had manipulated and used and discarded. But that is not all, Vanessa said. Since marrying me 6 months ago, Derek has been controlling in ways I never imagined possible. Verbally abusive, emotionally manipulative, and unfaithful with multiple other women. I have security footage from our home showing Derek with these other women. More images appeared on the projection screen. Derek with different women in the house Grace used to call home. In the bedroom, in his office, in the pool house, the crowd buzzed with shock and disgust and fascinated horror. Derek Holloway is not the man he pretends to be in public, Grace said clearly, looking directly at him. He is a serial liar, a habitual cheater, a financial fraud, and possibly a serious criminal. Federal authorities are currently investigating his business practices for money laundering, thanks to his business partner, James Whitmore, who provided comprehensive documentation to the FBI last week. Derek's face turned purple with rage. He tried to speak, but no words came out of his mouth. Just choking sounds. Grace looked directly at Derek, making eye contact. I came here tonight not for revenge or drama or attention. I came to tell the simple truth about what you did to me. For years, you controlled the narrative about our marriage. You controlled me. You made me believe I was the problem, that I was paranoid and unstable and unworthy of respect or love. But I am not the problem. I never was the problem. You are the problem, Derek. You have always been the problem. The audience began to applaud, slowly at first, hesitant, then louder and louder, a standing ovation that filled the entire ballroom with sound. Connor and Lily appeared at the base of the stage, both with tears streaming down their young faces. Mom, Connor said. His voice broke with emotion. We did not know. We did not know any of this was true. Dad told us you were lying, that you were mentally ill. We believed him. Grace descended from the stage. She pulled both her children into a tight hug, holding them close. I wanted to tell you both so badly for so long, but I needed you to see the evidence for yourselves, to understand who your father really is behind his mask. Derek stood alone on the stage now, abandoned by everyone, exposed completely, his carefully constructed life crumbling around him like a house built on lies and sand. Patricia Holloway approached Grace hesitantly. I did not know the full extent of what Derek was doing. The money he transferred to my bank accounts, he told me it was for legitimate tax purposes, legal estate planning. I did not ask enough questions. I should have known better. Did you actually believe him? Grace asked quietly. Patricia hesitated, then spoke honestly. No, deep down I think I knew something was very wrong, but he is my son. I wanted desperately to believe him, to trust him. I failed you, Grace. I'm sorry. Grace nodded slowly, understanding. Forgiveness was always complicated with family. Later that night, after the gala ended in chaos and Derek was escorted out by security, Grace sat in Beth's comfortable living room. Vanessa was there too. They drank expensive wine and processed everything that had happened. What happens now? Vanessa asked quietly. What comes next for both of us? Now, Marcus Sullivan said from his chair, we file comprehensive motions to reopen Grace's divorce case. We present all this evidence of systematic fraud to the judge. We force Derek to pay what he actually owes under the law. And what about me? Vanessa asked. What happens to my situation? You are leaving him immediately, Marcus said firmly. Tonight if possible. I already called a colleague who specializes in these exact cases. She is expecting your call. She will help you get out safely. I do not care about the prenuptial agreement anymore, Vanessa said. I do not care about Derek's money. I just want out of this marriage. I just want to be free. You will need an excellent attorney to fight that prenup, Marcus said. But you have a strong case now. Abuse, fraud, duress. A good lawyer can break that agreement. Thank you so much for everything. Vanessa looked at Grace, really looked at her. I'm so sorry. For everything. For my part in all of this. For the pain I caused you. Grace studied the young woman carefully. This girl who was also a victim of Derek's systematic manipulation. I am sorry too. For hating you before I understood your actual situation. For blaming you instead of Derek. Can we maybe be friends? Vanessa asked hesitantly. Eventually? Not now, but someday? Maybe, Grace said honestly. Someday when we have both healed. Right now we are allies against a common enemy, and that is enough for both of us. Grace returned to her small apartment very late that night. Alone with her thoughts, the parking lot stretched below her window, not beautiful. Not what she had imagined for her life at 42 years old. But it was honest, real, true hers. Derek would face serious consequences now. Legal consequences for his crimes. Financial consequences for his fraud. Social consequences for his lies. Grace would finally get justice. Or at least she would get truth and closure. Connor and Lily would need significant time to process everything they had learned tonight, to understand what really happened, to rebuild their relationship with their mother and fundamentally reconsider their relationship with their father. That healing would take months, probably years. But at least now they finally knew the truth. Knowledge was power. Grace looked at her reflection in the dark window. 42 years old, starting completely over from nothing. But this time she was starting from a foundation of truth instead of lies, building on solid ground instead of quicksand. Her phone buzzed one final time. Text from James Whitmore. This is James. Thank you for what you did tonight. Derek is officially out of the company. The board voted unanimously for his immediate removal. You saved a lot of people from his corruption. You are significantly braver than you probably feel right now. Grace smiled, set down her phone, closed her eyes. She had been Derek's wife for 23 long years. His victim for at least 4 of those years. But she was not a victim anymore. She had transformed into something new. She was a survivor, a truth teller, a warrior, a woman who had faced her worst nightmare and somehow come out the other side stronger than before. The trophy wife had not won after all. Neither had Derek. Grace had won by refusing to stay silent, by refusing to accept Derek's worst lies as her reality, by standing up and fighting back with documented truth instead of accepting abuse. And that was enough. That was everything. In the quiet of her small apartment, Grace finally understood something fundamental about life and love and loss and survival. The opposite of love was not hate. It was indifference. And she was almost there, almost free of Derek's hold on her emotions and her identity and her sense of self, almost ready to build a life that was truly and completely and authentically hers, a life based on truth instead of lies, a life worth living. Tomorrow she would start seriously rebuilding, start planning her actual future instead of just surviving her painful present, start believing again that good things were possible, that happiness was achievable, that love might exist somewhere out there for her. But tonight she would simply rest in the victory, and that was more than enough. So that is my story. The truth I finally told after years of silence. Derek is facing federal charges now. The FBI investigation James mentioned, completely real. My divorce case was reopened. I am fighting for what I actually deserve. Vanessa got out safely. She is rebuilding her life too. We talk sometimes, not friends yet, but allies, survivors. Connor and Lily, it has been hard, really hard. But they are starting to understand. Therapy helps, time helps, truth helps. Me? I am still in that little apartment, still working retail, but I am not broken anymore. I am free, and freedom is worth more than any mansion. If my story resonated with you, if you have ever felt gaslit or manipulated or silenced, please hit that like button. Your support means everything to survivors like us. Drop a comment below. Tell me your thoughts. Have you ever had to stand up to someone powerful? How did you find your courage? Share this video with someone who needs to hear it, someone who is struggling, someone who needs permission to tell their truth. And subscribe to this channel for more true stories about ordinary people who found extraordinary courage. Remember, you are not crazy. You are not paranoid. You deserve truth. You deserve respect. You deserve justice. Thank you for listening to my story.